The world needs more Tally Hall. The collectibles, oh so delectable, can only be considered collectible when there's more than 2 of the items in question. Otherwise, that's just a set. As much as I enjoy Not a Trampoline, Happy Monster Band, and ever since 2011, we've been collectively craving completion to a trio of terrific tracks. 2 is company, but 3 is a crowd pleaser. While there's been more communication between Andrew, Ross, and other members as of late,
poggers,
no official announcements have been made. Yet. But I think a 3rd album is on the way, and here's why. With present circumstance, I can only assume that we have finally reached the revelations as foretold in, well, Revelations, and if we follow this train of logic, then Christ's second coming should shortly arrive. As those following the faith proper ascend beyond the earthly realm, we will be surrounded by God's light and all of the heavenly joys with the angels and saints. Odds are, somewhere in that mix of holy luxuries is a 3rd Tally Hall album. That or Holly finally manages to clone the other members. Regardless of how likely another album may be, I thought it'd be fun to speculate on what a 3rd Tally Hall album would look like. What songs could we see? What new experiences could be expounded upon with an extra 9 or so years of life experience? First things first, we'd probably see a reprise of Welcome to Tally Hall. The band has now been on hiatus for a longer period than it was ever actually active. Let that sink in. Frankly, people have forgotten who the Marionette Quintet are. So, what better way to start off a new album than with their classic introductory tune? You should also check out my analysis of Welcome to Tally Hall and see why it serves as such a great introduction to the band. Links in the description. Speaking of returning songs, I'd like to see a studio version of Another Minute, off of the admittedly incomplete demos. I think they really play around with the beginning of the song, and the rest of it fits in well with the more serious and sentimental side of their works. With professional polish and a finally complete set of lyrics, it would be a great addition to the official Tally Hall canon. Other songs I'd like a second pass on are Light and Night and Color Be Gone. They similarly deserve the album treatment. But besides that, what kinds of new materials could we see? Well, I think that depends heavily on what the theme of the album is. Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum, or MMMM, or M4T, was inspired by the different sights of a mechanical museum and the wild variety of exhibits you might find within. There's also a running motif of time and its passage, and how that affects us throughout our lives. Good and Evil was about dichotomies, old and young, dark and light, war and peace, good and evil, so on and so forth. Each song explores both sides of a specific contrast to great effect. Both albums comment on universal experiences that hold some significance to the band. So, in keeping with that sentiment, what themes could unite album 3? Well, taking my previous song recommendations into account, I'd like to suggest a motif of color. Tally Hall's most identifying feature is their 5 differently colored ties and their plain white and black dress clothes. Color is intrinsically tied to their identity. It is as equally pervasive of a concept as time and opposition, and I think there's a lot to work with in that space. Why not explore how color affects our lives, how associations to reds, blues, greens, and yellows affect our perception of events and our relationships to the people around us, how a lack of colors and variety can make reality dull and gray, how some people may seem primary or secondary or tertiary in our lives compared to others, when in reality we may be in fact a secondary character or a tertiary character to them. How black and white worldviews will inevitably lead to conflict due to a lack of understanding. Light and Night and Color Be Gone fit that theme perfectly already, and Color Be Gone would make a pretty cool album title. Hey, they could even re-release Greener for this one. Better yet, how about they just take the song, replace random words with the word green, and then just title it Greenest? I'm not sure how Another Minute folds into all this, but I'm sure they could find a way. On my personal wish list, here's some other things I'd like to see. More rap, a sea shanty, Banana Man 2, Banana Woman, more songs about chickens, another 7-minute song, more Ross and Andrew singing,
poggers,
more than 15 seconds of Bora, less cowboy, more cowboy, more cow, cowgirl GF. Whoa. I think I'm getting off track. That's not what we need from Tally Hall. That was 2000s era Tally Hall. This is 2020. Things have changed. We expect more from our musicians than just clever lyrics and thematic motifs. We want homages and melodies between songs, chord progressions that are actually progressive, inclusive lyrics written in multiple languages that take a cipher to decode. We want creative uses of the audio media format, songs played backwards, auto-tune, whale noises. We want story. We want song. Okay, take 2 on album 3. Let's pump it up even further. Maximum seriousness, maximum sentimentality, maximum silliness, minimum Horowitz. Let's go! Envision this. An album based around a life event which has impacted everyone alive before the 2000s. Nothing gets more universal of an experience than that. Yes, I'm talking about the 2001 World Trade Center terrorist attacks. The grief of a nation learning to deal with living in a new age of international life, captured in musical form. All of this disguised under another, aptly fitting but parallel story structure describing the life of a sailor, played by Donald Glover. Over the course of the album, we see him fall in love with a beautiful woman, watch her being murdered before his own eyes, and then he spends the rest of his days recovering from the grief of losing his love, perfectly reflecting the breakdown of American exceptionalism following the first attack on US soil since 1941. Then he casts out to sea, is seduced by sirens, and ultimately dies. We can call back to the oceanic theme with a song sung mostly in Hawaiian. Hawaii, Pearl Harbor, the previous attack on American soil by kamikaze Japanese forces, another parallel to Afghani suicide bombers. There's rap and 8-bit integration, Intel core processors with real-time distribution on a 64 yottabyte hard drive, analysis of the egregious treatment of patients in mental wards during the first half of the 20th century, symbolism of the Twin Towers in the title design, time travel, piano, Hawaii, it's perfect. It's Hawaii Part 2. God! Yeah, we're never getting a third Tally Hall album.
To spend some time